from Chicago originally. Went to Western Michigan University. Played there for 4 years, and I got drafted in 2005. So I put this on the YouTube channel for Baseball Utility. If you guys got to check it out. And I'm going to keep on doing that. I'm going to keep on putting the sessions on this. You can go back and watch or whatever. And if you guys can subscribe, it'd be huge. I'm trying to get 25 million subscribers. So if you you guys can be one of 25 million if you guys want. But, and just a little background. All right, so started with Cincinnati. I guess last time I didn't do this, but my highlight in Cincinnati was my first career homer. It was on Mother's Day. And that was in 2009. I hit it off of Adam Wainwright. It's pretty cool. Really neat memory. And then went to Oakland in 2010, got traded to Oakland. And a highlight there is I get to play in Dallas Braden's perfect game. And that's probably the highlight of my career. And that's in 2010, also on Mother's Day. So it was pretty neat. I always told the manager to put me in on Mother's Day because I'm going to do something special on Mother's Day. And then Texas, that was like the turning point in my career. Like I had a rough year with the A's in 2011. 2012 got to go to the playoffs, and it was kind of like falling. Like I just wasn't sure if I was going to stay in the big leagues. And then 2014, I get another shot, and I play well. The team wasn't that good, but I got to play for Ron Washington and kind of turned it around. And then in 2016, went to San Diego, and I was hitting about $180 in June. Maybe not. Yeah, about June. And had a great conversation with Andy Green, who was the manager. And Andy Green was actually my roommate back in Louisville when I was in AAA with the Reds. And we had a great conversation at All-Star break. I turned it around from hitting 180 something in June. In August, I was hitting 230 ended up with 13 home runs. I doubled my career homers. And that kept me in it. Can extend my career a little bit longer, and got to play in Arizona, back home now. And got to go we won that wild card game in 2017. That was an awesome game. Not sure if you guys saw that against the Rockies and Diamondbacks. I got to start in game 1 of the NLDS against Kershaw. And then finally wrapped up my career with Cleveland, which was pretty special. Like I said last time, that's where my wife's from. And it was just pretty special trek that I got to take. And now I'm in coaching for the A's, and excited about that. Most importantly, what I'm trying to do with this webinar is build confidence in coaches and parents so that you guys can continue to build confidence in your players. That's the number one goal. And how am I going to do that? Just provide clear information and ask you guys questions just to increase your baseball knowledge and keep you guys interested. And then why am I doing this? Why am I so involved with coaching? Because I know how important it is to play college baseball. I feel like that was such a monumental bridge that I crossed going from high school to pro ball, was playing in college. And so that's like my goal. Not sure exactly how to do it yet, but with Baseball Utility to get players to college. And obviously I'm learning a lot being a coach with the Oakland A's. And we'll cover phase 1 and phase 2 of this in the webinar. So that's what I'm just going to show you guys a couple of videos of the online course that I created. And then this is the 4 core values again. Just to drill this in. Rhythm and timing, that's what we're talking about today. Strictly rhythm and timing. And then weight transfer, connection, and finish. So last time we talked we touched on the mental side of the game. I talked about the importance of like the imagery. We had Pat Mish on, who I played with at Western Michigan, who played 5 or 6 years in the big leagues. And we talked about the mental side and how important it is. And it really started for me in college, I would say. I started like laying on my back, imagining success, finding a quiet area. So the mental side of the game is so important. And I just don't think that us as coaches and as baseball players have really tapped into what this can be. So it's kind of like, so it's not necessarily the mental side of rhythm and timing, like the mechanical rhythm and timing. I kind of parallel this to like the rhythm and timing of a routine, like an everyday routine for a baseball player, and a little bit mechanical at the end. But for me, the rhythm and timing of a day, like I had the same daily routine for a night game, and then I had the same daily routine for a day game. And so that daily routine started before the game even happened. But I made sure that it was consistent every day. And now that I'm out of it and I see these kids going through it, like I'm at the Oakland A's complex and I see them going through the routines, and I'm like, man, that's not easy to do. It's like it takes a lot of discipline to do that. But that's the mental side to make sure that you are structured like that. And then the hitting routine. You need to have the same hitting routine. And for me, that started in the dugout, right? When I'm actually watching the pitcher, talking to my teammates, asking them what pitches they have that day, what pitches are working for that pitcher, what pitches aren't, right? And even like the tipping, right? A lot of pitches, especially young players, guys, like you should really look to see if some guys, I'm sure you know, but it's pretty blatant. Some guys flare on a changeup, or they set lower as they're going to throw a fastball. I caught a guy chewing gum. He had gum in his mouth, right? And when he was chewing it, he was throwing a fastball. And then when he stopped chewing it, off speed. And I'm like, if I can read that and we can get our young players to really pay attention and understand that, it's so important to get that edge. You know, so but that happened in the dugout, right? In the dugout, and then walked. You know, I'm in the hole now. I'm watching the pitcher, getting my rhythm and timing, really looking for what my teammates and I just talked about. Now I'm on deck, right? Now my mind's like, I'm getting anxious, my heart's beating. I know the situation. I'm looking out like, all right, if this happens right now, if there's a guy on first and second, if he hits it into the gap and there's nobody out, there's going to be a guy on third base. So I need to be ready to drive him home, and I need to be ready to look for my pitch. This is all the stuff that's going through my head, like preparing. If this happens, if that happens, or if it's a bunt situation, right? I'm thinking about that on deck. Now, but at the same time, I'm trying to relax myself because my heart was pounding every time. Whatever you want to call it, anxiety, or you wanted it to do really well, that nervous energy, I always had that. And I knew if I didn't have that, I would be in trouble. Like the more I felt that, the better it was that I was going to be. But so that's before you're even in the batter's box. So now I'm walking up to the batter's box. You hear your music playing. Now you walk behind the umpire, whatever. You dig in. There's been some times where I really dug in my toe like really deep. Mike Cameron came up. I don't know if you guys know Mike Cameron, long time veteran big leaguer, but he saw me dig in as a rookie, right? Like I dug in like so deep and dug a hole, and nobody liked it. But it was my routine in AAA, and I wasn't going to change it. And I had a coach tell me, he's like, if you keep doing that, they're going to throw at you. And I'm like, you know what? That's all right. That's the price I'm willing to pay to not change my routine. Like I told you guys about Mark Burley the last time we were on, and AJ Przinsky, that combo, that battery, how I wouldn't change my routine. The 2 deep breaths on every pitch. Right? And then I step back in. It disrupted Mark Burley, and I could feel it. But I stayed, and if he wanted to throw at me, or if the other team got upset, or AJ Przinsky said that's enough, I wasn't going to change. I was sticking to my routine. But that all starts in the dugout, right? And you take that all the same approach until you're in the batter's box. Now, you got to find a way to stay calm, right? You're anticipating the pitch. You're anticipating the situation. You might be 0 for 3 that day. You might be pressing to get that hit because you want to get on first base. So for what I did is that I would always really relax my shoulders, swing the bat from my head to my toe. Here, I'll show you guys too. So hopefully you guys can see. But just really relax, just right here. That's why you see a lot of guys doing this. Just waiting for the pitcher, right? And if I started too early and I got in my position too soon, I would start tensing up and I would start thinking about the situation and I would stop trusting myself, right? And I was in trouble. But if I felt myself doing that, then I would do the last thing, right? I would hum a song. And I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it works. For me, it works. Just to hum something and you get your mind off of the situation and you're just trusting in yourself. Chuck, did you have a question? It looked like you were thinking.
Yeah, I'm just thinking through, I'm trying to remember when, the difference between when you're in the hole and when you're on deck. From what I'd heard before, tell me if this sounds right to you, that when you're in the hole, your job is to make the bat feel light in your hands, where you might use a weighted bat, things like that. When you're on deck, your job is to time the pitcher. And then obviously you're up next. Do you say that's kind of in line with what you would do, or?
Yeah, like the weighted, I wish I would have done the weighted bat more. I did it when I was younger. I don't know why I stopped. You get your superstitions in your way, But yeah, like on deck, definitely needed. I was timing the pitcher every time. I should have put that in there. Like there's no question, and that's a great point, Chuck. Every time, every pitch, because you take the same at bat. Like it's like I took 8 at bats, right? I really had 4 bats, but I was taking an at bat on deck as well.
What was your go-to song to hum?
I was thinking of that same thing.
It's like some heavy metal song. No, I'm just kidding. It was actually for me it was actually a church song, like a church hymn would actually get me through it. So just got my mind off it, kept me calm, and it helped me like understand that this is really not that big of a deal. Like this, like the church hymn, kind of like it's just a baseball game. Like there's more important things in life than playing base, and that's what I kind of like separated my mind. It helped a ton. But it was pretty cool in San Diego. We're playing against Cincinnati actually. I started thinking to myself. I wasn't humming a song, but a thought came into my mind, and the thought told me it was the 10th inning, and I think it was the leadoff guy on the 10th inning, and it was like 1-1 or something, tie ball game. And I kept thinking to myself, just enjoy this. You're gonna hit a walk-off home run. Just enjoy this. I'm like, what? Like, I'm not a home run hitter. Like, the team's relying on me to get on base. But my mind kept telling me, just enjoy it. So first pitch goes by and I swing right through it. The second pitch goes by, I swing right through it. I'm like, 0-2, and I'm like, just enjoy it. Just enjoy this. And then boom, left center gap, homer. Only walk-off homer that I had in my professional career. So it was pretty cool, like mentally, how my mind just was free, almost like a 9-year-old, like just enjoy it, just have fun. And I wish it happened all the time, but it was kind of a blessing, to be like, all right. But to rely on that more often, I should have relied on it more often. But it's tough. It's tough to trust yourself sometimes. Really, we're going to touch on 2 core concepts of rhythm and timing. We'll start with stance. And I put for stance, so we're talking more mechanically, the most important thing is your posture. Because it's how you rotate. It's that rotational acceleration that everybody's talking about now, right? See here. So this is just a video about testing the posture. This is from the online course. There are 2 ways that I like testing my posture. First, use a PVC pipe or your bat. Today I got a paint pole. And look over your front shoulder with good curvature in your spine. And if you're too hunched over, the post is going to roll down by your elbows. And if you're too hyperextended, the pole is going to roll towards your neck. And the second way I like to test posture is by looking into a full body mirror. and you can see your reflection, but I still highly recommend using a long pole or PVC pipe. All right, so the second core concept we're going to cover tonight is the load. And that's, you can also call it a gather. So basically, getting into your backside is so important. Like, I can't express it enough. We do the step back drill in our camps that we do for baseball utility because I would say 80 to 90% of the kids are just stepping forward. So a lot of kids just step forward, just right here, right? And there's nothing back there. There's absolutely nothing. So we do the step back drill and boom, right? That's everything. You don't have to do a high leg kick either. It could just be, you see that though, compared to.
So how do you help them? Because sometimes I see kids kind of rock back.
Yeah, you don't want to sway. Like I kind of sway too, because I'm out of shape. But
so how do you help them, especially younger kids, move from that rocking to this athletic? Because obviously it's your arms, it's your hands, it's kind of everything going into that load.
Right. That's a great question, because with the step back drill, I should have brought it with me, but with the step back drill, we put a wedge. I think, Chuck, did I?
Yeah, we
sent you the link. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing about the wedge, it helps your knee drive. The thing is, it really should prevent the kid from swaying his back knee like that. I gotta put this down a little bit. This is my lower body. So a lot of kids go, right? I'm over exaggerating, but this is it, right? The wedge will get them to go this. They'll step back like this, right? That's what you want, because that's all my back hip.
Mm-hmm. I heard once on the load, they compared it to like a bow and arrow. They're like, in order for that arrow to go forward, it's got to come back.
100%.
And so here in the South, there's lots of kids that have shot bow and arrows, so it's good visual for them.
I love it. Yeah, you have to. That's right. You got to go back to go forward. So when to start is when they break their hands, because once they break their hands, they're coming at you. You're getting ready. You're coming at them now. So know that. That's so important. When they break their hands is when you go. That's the key. But the most important is to stay balanced, right? A lot of kids want to swing at 100%. Even in practice, right away, right out of the chute, you see them hop onto a tee and they're boom, boom. And I did a lot too. But balance. And a good drill for the balance is to start them. Say, hey, Billy, start at 20% of your swing. Now go to 40%. Now go to 60, go to 80, now go to 100. Build them up. I highly recommend that, especially if you see a kid like this, like just way too much muscle. They got to really just calm it down. And hopefully you guys can recognize that as coaches.
When you talk about the percentage, are you talking like how far you're holding it, like 20?
Oh, sorry.
40, like bringing it back like that?
No, sorry. That's a great question, man. No, just the intensity of the swing, right? 20%.
Okay.
Good thing I didn't hit that fan. 20%, boom. 40%, a little bit more intensity.
Okay.
60. The intensity of the swing needs to build up. And that's where they'll start feeling the balance and the barrel awareness, because they're actually using their body correctly and they're in control. So balance is most important for me, personally. All right, so this is a cool drill that's going to help you with stance and load. It's a cool rhythm and timing drill. I did this in San Diego with Alan Zinter a lot with my rhythm and timing. So I'll just play it for y'all. The purpose of this drill is to test stance and load. So first, set up a tee at home plate, and the coach stands behind a screen about 40 to 50 feet away. When the coach is behind the screen, he acts like a right-handed pitcher for some pitches, and then a left-handed pitcher for some other pitches. So the coach is going to go through his righty and lefty windups, he's going to adjust the speed of the windups and his deliveries to try to disrupt the hitter's rhythm and timing. So after the windup and delivery, the coach is going to release the ball into the screen in front of him, and the hitter will track that simulated pitch and then hit the ball off the tee.
Is it kind of also for training kind of your eyesight for, from that distance to up close, getting your head in the right spot? Because I know the kids, they keep their eye on the ball, because obviously you've got to track from when he throws it to then hitting it right off the tee. Is that
right? Yeah, right. That's a great point, Chuck. You don't want to just be looking down at the tee. You don't want to be looking down at the ball. You have to watch him and like track it in. Yeah, so it's it does. It really does. It's almost like it's in the mental side too. Move this other way. So there's the best ways to test a hitter. The coach will make the hitter wait in the batter's box for 5 seconds, makes the hitter uncomfortable, and tests his patience. And then the coach holds the ball to see what position the hitter's in. And the third way is already covered in the video, but that's the coach varies the speed of his windup, right? That's also going to test. And encourage your players when you do this drill, encourage them, just wait till I break my hands. And once my hand comes up, you're dancing with the pitcher, right? You're turning that arm around. You're turning that velocity around. It's coming at you, right? But the coach needs to vary the speed up. Quick pitch him, hold, and then go. So that's the third way, vary up the speed.
So is that kind of, if you're waiting till the hands separate, then isn't it Johnny Cueto that has a million different, that if it doesn't matter how fast or how slow he's doing it, if you're waiting for that one piece of whichever windup he's doing, right?
Yeah, you're waiting for him to come at like that like he's got to, else he's gonna have nothing behind it, right?
So you don't get distracted by everything else.
Yeah, don't worry about it. That's why you just stay as calm as possible. And once he dances with you, start dancing with him. And more often than not, we win that dance. We lead that dance. All right, so those are 3 ways to test their patient with the rhythm and timing. And this is all basic stuff again, right?
Who was the toughest pitcher out there to get timing on?
Toughest pitcher to get timing on? You know what? Like I had a really tough time with Kershaw. Like he's the toughest lefty I faced. But I feel like I figured him out. The last at bat I faced him, I feel like I figured him out. It was in the NLDS too. Because whenever I'm looking at the pitcher, hold on 1 second. I'm looking at his left ear. Like for a lefty, I'm looking at his left ear or the brim of his cap on the left side. And if it's a sidearm lefty, you don't see too many of those. But like a righty, I'm looking at his belt, like this belt buckle almost. Like I'm going down, I'm with him to know where I'm picking up the ball. On his body though, because if you pick it up like, oh, it's probably coming out of this arm slot off the hitter's eye, you're going to lose focus. So you always focus on something physical on his body to have that fine-tuned focus. But with Kershaw, I couldn't figure him out. I got some cheap hits off of him, if that counts. But for me, every hit was awesome for me. But so I'm looking at his left ear, but he goes down. His body goes down. He goes boom, like he sits way down, and his arm shoots up, right? So I'm like, I'm going down with his body. So I'm focused on that, and this pops up. That's the deception.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a second, his arm's staying up. And that last at bat, I smoked it to center field, right at the guy. He's been standing there for 100 years. I should have been a little bit smarter than that, but.
What's your I'm sure everybody here has coached young kids at one time. What's the go-to activity to really get involved with, like the kids get involved? Like which You what?
What they like doing, like a camp? Or
Yeah, well, yeah, like camp. Like, what's the kids like the most that gets them interactive with them?
for me, it's always playing games. That's what it's got to get to. There's got to be a stage for these, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. That's what I really want to try, like, without just playing the game, like almost like a, I don't know. You want to put them like on. You want to let them compete. You know, they want to. That's why I always play the game in the cage. A line drive off the side nets is 1 point. Off the L screen is 3 points. Off the back net is 5. And if there's like a banner up there, it's 10 points, right? And you separate them in teams of 3, 3 and 3, or whatever you do, and then you just play a game like that. That's what they like. That's what they really enjoy doing. I mean, they're great. Ton of respect from all the kids I've worked with. And they'll do all the drills and they'll pay attention when I'm evaluating them. But they want to play games. They want to be up on stage. They want that competitive edge or the competitive excitement. So there's a lot of great drills. There's a lot of fun drills, and we'll hit a couple, but like in the course, in the online course that I have, like after every section, there is a game that they have to play. But there's a game that I incorporate.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the younger kids that you have, I try to end every practice in a little scrimmage
Yeah, you have, yeah.
because it gives kids who may not get to play all these positions in the games chances to play shortstop, third, first,
Right.
And then what it also does is I keep score. And so before they ever play a game, they've been in a lot of one-run ball games. So they learn once they're actually in a game that they're not
That's
stressed
awesome.
anymore. They're like, I've been here 5 times.
Yeah.
This is just like a normal practice. I'm not nervous right now.
That's exactly right, man.
What happened last year? We went undefeated all year, and then we make it to the tournaments, and they lost their first game. Or we made it to the championship in the tournaments. They lost one game, and the second game they were shot because they weren't used to losing. It's like now we say, I'd rather them lose a game early in the season, get it done and out of the way.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to be undefeated, I'd rather them lose a game early than to make it all the way to the end and lose everything.
That's a great point. I love that.
You wouldn't have loved it last year when it happened. We
I can
worked hard
imagine.
all year. It was like it kind of started with some bad news bears and then ended. I mean, they were great. We couldn't ask for anything better out of them.
That's awesome. Yeah, you gotta learn how to lose in order to win.
Yeah.
So we went and played sandlot games. Like when I was in the big leagues, I'd go not every Saturday, a lot of Saturday mornings, whatever city I was in, whether it was Texas, Oakland, and San Diego, I'd go out and play these pickup games of baseball because that's like a big part of my philosophy is you got to play this game to learn how to lose, how to win, how to be a good teammate, how to have good sportsmanship. You have to play it to understand or where you need to be, how to position yourself. The thing that I saw, there's a couple of kids that really took it to heart. If they didn't do well, it's a pickup game of baseball, but a couple of kids would cry on the field, and I'm okay with that. I did it as a kid. I had a lot of passion. Like I'm all right with it. I'm all right with a kid crying. I'll say it up front. Like a lot of parents will be like, "Oh, you're like too wimpy." I'm like, dude, the reason why he's crying is because he wants it. He wants to be great. That's the way I know myself. But I saw these kids taking it really serious. But where else they're not gonna learn that in practice. They're not gonna learn the heartbeat in practice. And that's what I'm like, yes, the development is so important. Don't get me wrong, so important. But equally as important is the game speed, game situation, and learning all those emotions that go into it. All right, well, everybody, thank you so much for being on. Like, this is great. I enjoyed doing it. And if it wasn't for you guys, I'd just be talking to myself. So thank you for being, thank you for being on. In the meantime, tell other parents about it and other friends you guys have. We would appreciate that.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys.